a very good evening to you. And welcome along once again to Sweet and Swing here on Mike's Radio. You know the time, you know the place. I'm Howard Kane. Lovely to have your company this evening. More jazzing the classics. Flanders and Swan continuing our retrospective, of course. Some of the Harmony Hounds with their hot licks. Putney Dandridge. Not at it for a while. And to start off, is that a robin? I see. I don't think there's many robins round at the moment. Might be though, who knows? Plenty of bird life, but more starlings in my garden and house sparrows. And I was going to say the odd thrush, but house sparrows as well. Listening to one the other day and watching one having a bath. And the same starling has been visiting my house. I think it's the same. Coming to the same place in any case. A little hole by the corner of the weatherboard at the back of the garage, where it can sort of squeeze in and make a little nesting spot in there. And there's been someone, I'm taking it, the same starling, or one of its progeny, for at least the last 7 or 8 years. Arrives, has a nest there, some fledglings come out, and then it all goes quiet again. Causes a bit of poo on the balcony, but other than that, I don't think it does any damage, and it's lovely to watch them. Robins, they're all year round, I think, aren't they, here in the Isle of Man? Whatever you're watching, whether it's robins, birds or bikes, I hope you're surviving okay, as we have the probably busiest 2 weeks of the year here on the Isle of Man, I dare say. Love it or hate it. And as we were saying the other week, some people embrace it and other people I know have gone to sunnier climes to escape it altogether. Your choice, I suppose. You can still listen to Sweet and Swing. Just pop the podcast on or listen online one way or another. Lovely to have your company as ever when the red robin comes bobbing along. And the Sunnysiders, I think they went on. Did they sing? The Sunnysiders certainly went on to sing in the 50s, whether it was the same Sunnysiders singing there with Lou Prager or not. I don't actually know. There were Sunnysiders who got to number 12 in the Billboard charts in 1955, so it's not unusual that it could have been them. But there again, there could have been more than one lot of Sunnysiders. I'm thinking it might well be the same group, a vocal trio, American. But it's a popular name, I'd imagine, the Sunnysiders. You can imagine there might have been more than one throughout the United States, and no more details than that given on the recording, other than the fact it was the Sunnysiders, and it definitely was Lou Prager and the boys playing in the band to get us going there with a nice cheerful number. I can also say this is definitely going to be Frank Weir next. Surrender.
Why don't you surrender? How long can your lips live without a kiss? Surrender, I beg you, surrender. How long can your heart resist? I'll bring you a love you can cling to.
From the depth of my heart,
a love that won't be untrue.
You must believe me, it's my promise to you.
So please be tender, and darling, surrender.
Surrender, be mine,
and love me.
Love me as I love you. Why don't you surrender? How long can your lips live without a kiss? Surrender, I beg you, surrender. How long can your heart resist me? I'll bring you a love you can cling to, a love that won't be untrue. So please be tender, why don't you surrender and love me as I love you? Won't you surrender, darling, be mine?
Surrender. You might want to do that by the end of TT Week or TT Fortnight, I don't know. Frank Weir with his band there. Frank Weir, yeah, one of those sort of unsung heroes in many ways. Very popular at his time, worked with Jack Hilton and Howard Jacobs during the war, and then became a leader himself and toured afterwards with his big band, which included a relatively young, I suppose he'd be sort of getting on a wee bit then, George Shearing. Yeah, George Shearing played with Frank Weir and the boys. I'm just trying to think how he would have been probably in his 20s or 30s by then, wouldn't he? By the 50s, he must have been well into his 30s, or perhaps a bit older than that, mid-30s, something along those lines. A great sound in any case, and a great tune as well. Surrender. And Frank Weir, well, he, like I said, was popular, but as we say so often, you get tired of saying it on this programme, don't you? How many people remember Frank Weir now? And the answer is not very many. A very melodic band, possibly heading towards almost Morris territory, light music, but did some more sort of commercial stuff as well. And none the worse for that. Still sounding rather nice, I have to say, on that one. I rather enjoyed it. Surrender, of course. And just looking, I think it was Johnny Carroll was doing the vocals on that one. Am I right? Was it Johnny Carroll? Something along those lines? I feel that's pretty much right. It hasn't got the details. Yes, it has. Here we go. Surrender. It was Johnny Carroll. Johnny Carroll and the Radio Revellers. There we are. And it was lurking around there somewhere. A nice sound. It has a sort of vague 50s sound to it, doesn't it? And they're American, even though Frank Weir himself was British. Artie Shaw. Now, we often refer to Artie Shaw. We haven't played any for a while. And I was riffling through the racks for this show, and I thought, there's some Artie. We're going to have some. In fact, I'm going to make amends by playing a bit of his Concerto for Clarinet. Bit of a longer piece. Time to go and make some cocoa or something stronger, should you wish, while this one's on. Artie Shaw, some of his classic tracks, all sorts on this one, Begin the Begin and Any Old Time, Indian Love Call. But yeah, what about his Concerto for Clarinet? The old perfectionist himself. Oh, he could play, couldn't he? He could play, an incredible musician, an incredible man in many ways. The great Artie Shaw, and that's his clarinet or concerto for clarinet. Great piece, actually, isn't it? A bit of swing, a bit of classical, all sorts of influences. And of course, he was an early adopter of what is now known as third stream. doing that blending, that mixing of jazz with the classical genre. Still a tricky thing to pull off today, actually. Sometimes it's a bit clunky, and other times it can be very, very effective. And still practiced widely, I would say, around the world and in various bands. I can think of quite a few modern bands who've done something along those lines. Oregon, one of my favourite world music bands, have done some sort of third streamy things. But Artie Shaw was there long before that, back in the 1950s. An incredible character and an incredible player, widely regarded as one of the jazz's finest clarinetists, but famously jacked it all in because he just didn't like the business. And liked playing, and he loved the music, but didn't like the whole business and whatever. I don't even know whether the money interested him that much. I'll give you a quick starter for 10. So for your starter for 10, can you tell me the link between James Bond and Artie Shaw? No, I don't know whether I would have got this one, actually. It's slightly loose, but an interesting one in any case. He was his music influenced all sorts of people, and it is believed, although I don't know anyone could positively prove it now these days, but Monty Norman, who did the James Bond theme, features a vamp, very much so, quite possibly influenced by Shaw's 1938 recording of Nightmare. You'll have to go back and have a listen, see if you can pick that one out. Super successful in his time. He was a brilliant musician, as you heard. He was a composer, a clarinetist, a band leader, an actor. He did stuff on TV and film as well. Also an author of fiction and non-fiction, and incredibly academic in many ways as well. All of which meant that he was very successful in his prime. And I love this figure. I might have possibly quoted it before at some stage. I can't remember. But in his prime, in 1940, at the height of his popularity, at the age of 30, he was earning up to $60,000 a week. $60,000 a week in 1940. I don't know what that is in today's money, but we must be talking millions, I'd imagine. Amazing. In contrast, I see here, George Burns, the famous comedian, Gracie Allen, were making around $5,000 a week. And they were pretty much at the peak of their fame then, I thought. Amazing, isn't it? $60,000 a week in 1940. But he didn't actually like the whole business which goes with showbiz and music and everything else. He told Metronome magazine, "I don't like the business of music. I'm unhappy in the music business. Maybe I don't even belong to it. I like the music part, but for me the business part just plain stinks." Didn't like it at all. And so he decided he would quit, basically. He would quit the band. He told his agents he was walking away from a big band, the big band that he had, the one we've just heard, I think. His agents warned him he couldn't do that. He had $1 million in contracts that had to be honoured. Shaw said he didn't care and said, "Tell him I'm insane. A nice young American boy walking away from $1 million. Wouldn't you call that insane?" He broke up the Hollywood band but kept 7 odd musicians together, and then went on to form another big band with 7 brass, 5 saxes, 4 rhythm, 15 strings. He performed and was actually a great sort of raiser, keeping the spirits up during the war. And also, as I say, was a great academic and loved studying other things, particularly later on in life, including advanced mathematics. A brilliant shot as well, a marksman. At one stage, he was one of the 4th best shots in competitions in the whole of the United States. And in between all that, somehow or other he managed to get married 8 times. 8 times. Makes Richard Burton look like an amateur. 2 marriages were annulled. All the others ended in divorce. He started out marrying his first wife, Jane Cairns, in 1932. And I think his last one was Evelyn Keyes in 1957. Must have been getting the hang of it by then, you'd have thought, mustn't you? Amazing. An amazing character and amazing music. And yes, we haven't heard him for a long time, so I thought we'd have that longer form piece. From the sublime to the ridiculous, as they say. Flanders and Swan, they were both super talented as well, but in a different way, doing their wonderful reviews. At the drop of a hat, we've been dropping into with various songs from their first famous album, and we might have some from a drop of another hat from this box set as well. I'm trying to mix up the well-known with the not-so-well-known. It's going to be a well-known week this week. Everyone knows this one.
First of the animal songs, some people think the title of this song is irrelevant. But it's not an elephant, it's a hippopotamus.
A bone hippopotamus was standing one day on the banks of the cool Shalimar. He gazed at the bottom as it peacefully lay by the light of the evening star. Away on a hilltop sat combing her hair his fair hippopotamine maid. The hippopotamus was no ignoramus and sang her this sweet serenade. Mud, mud, glorious mud, nothing quite like it for cooling the blood. So follow me, follow, down to the hollow, and there let us wallow in glorious mud. The fair hippopotama he aimed to entice from her seat on that hilltop above. As she hadn't got a ma to give her advice, came tiptoeing down to her love. Like thunder the forest re-echoed the sound of the song that they sang as they met. His inamorata adjusted her garter and lifted her voice in duet in Russian.
Graz, graz, чудная грязь, лучше средства, как корная мазь. Так возьми свою даму,
Follow me,
и
follow,
поведи ее в яму.
down to the
И
hollow,
там мы окунемся в чудную грязь.
there to improve our cultural relations.
Now the hippopotamine began to on the banks of that river so wide.
I wonder now what am I to say of the scene that ensued by the Shalimar side. They dived all at once with an ear-splitting splosh, then rose to the surface again, a regular army of hippopotami, all singing this haunting refrain. That's you. Lovely. Beautiful.
Absolutely classic stuff. Mud, mud, glorious mud, sung in Russian as well as English. Very fine, very funny, both very bright, both Oxford or, Oxbridge educated. I think they both went to Oxford, if memory serves correct. And the Russian, well, not just coincidental, and it would be very accurate, because Donald Swan was actually part Russian, as it were. He was born in Llanelli, or Llanelli, I think that is, isn't it, if I get it right? Llanelli? That sounds better, doesn't it? 1923. But the percentage of British blood in him, fairly small, it's claimed. The Swans migrated from Llanelli to St. Petersburg in the 18th century and became Russified. Donald's father was a doctor, born and bred in Russia, where he married a Muslim nurse of nomad stock from Transcaspia. They escaped from the revolution, and Dr. Herbert Swan had a practice in Wales when Donald made his debut in the world. But he was then, of course, brought up in London in Elephant and Castle, but coming from that great Russified stock, I guess. Went to be a King's Scholar at Westminster and had a lifelong interest in music, entirely classical, up until the outbreak of World War II. And had no interest in jazz or light music or cabaret or anything like that. It was great fun. It was always great fun, I'm told. But it was really the war, I think, when he went out, and he was out in the Near East. And maybe it was war, maybe it was just sort of that, I don't know, an incredible time, I suppose. Whichever way you looked at it, it must have affected him, because he came back and had changed quite a bit. And was enjoying more popular things, folk musics and jazzy stuff and rhythms in 5s and 7s, as well as just straight 3s and 4s, as you might find in the classical genre. And then went on to, I think he eventually did get into Oxford, didn't go back to Oxford to study, because Christchurch apparently refused his re-entry. But he Donald Swan met up with Michael Flanders at Worcester College. In fact, I think I've got it wrong there. I think it's Flanders who was refused entry to go back to study there, but they met at Worcester and then started writing review music. and the rest, as they say, is history. Terrific stuff. We'll be having more from Flanders and Swan in the coming weeks. So something unusual next week, something a little less heard. Still to come, more of our jazzing the classics, and a man you might not have heard. I have played him once before, actually, on the show, many moons back. Putney Dandridge, worth playing for the name alone, but one of those forgotten stars on the piano. Wonderful player. But before all that, we'll have a bit of this. There you go, your little twofer for this week. The second one there was, you might have recognised, Little Brown Jug, Billy May and his orchestra. And before that, the old Harmony Hounds. I was having a bit of Morris-like trouble with the CD on that one. Didn't want to play at all, but we got there in the end. And that was South Wind, the Harmony Hounds, which are made up. I may as well give them a shout out. My name, Mike Burns, who is listed as trumpet and camel call. I wonder what song that one's on. Camel call? What's he do with? Somewhere in the Sahara. Must be on that, mustn't it? Also, vocal assistants. John Hallam, clarinet and alto sax. Colin Turner bass. Chris Howes, banjo, guitar, and vocals in the Harmony Hounds. And then Billy May and his orchestra with Little Brown Jug. Yeah, nice little twofer. We like a twofer. Billy May, well, a composer, American, of course, composer, arranger, trumpeter. Did all sorts of TV work, including the Batgirl theme from Batman. That was one of Billy May's. I don't think he did the Batman theme itself, I'm fairly certain. He did the Mod Squad. He did do the music for the Green Hornet. They used to have the Green Hornet car, a dinky one, might still have it somewhere. You remember the Green Hornet? Very good. He did the music from Naked City and wrote for, well, you name it. He wrote for some of the biggest names in the business. Frank Sinatra. He did arrangements for Frank. He did arrangements for Nat King Cole, Anita O'Day, Peggy Lee, Bobby Darin, Johnny Mercer, Ella Fitzgerald, Jack Jones, Bing Crosby, Rosemary Clooney. You get the picture. You might not remember his name as well as the rest of them, but he was up there and doing some of the very, very best. Played with a lot of the very, very best. And also playing the big band era, playing in the 1940s as a trumpet player. I think he played with Glenn Miller at one stage as well. Terrific character, agree. Terrific player, great composer, but perhaps hidden behind some of those even bigger names. So perhaps, again, not as well known as... Well, I suppose he doesn't really care now, does he? He's no longer around. He's probably looking down, just sniggering away, thinking, I had good fun. At least my music's still getting played. Speaking of having good fun, the music getting played, a gentleman who was no stranger to the Isle of Man, particularly at this time of the year. And it's got to be done, I suppose, hasn't it? I mean, can you really go through TT Fortnight and not have a bit of George Formby? And it's, well, there's only one place he can really play, isn't it, George? He can sort of introduce himself. Here he is on the steamer, getting ready to play the song you've got to play on the ukulele banjo when it comes to TT, Tommy, yeah?
You know, now that's another one, eh? Let's have another song. What can I sing? Anything you like. If there's one thing that I like, it's riding around on the motorbike. I'm speaking when the ones begin. I once won first prize 2 and 6. I know all the dirt track dirty tricks. I'm a marvel when I'm out to win. In a 50-mile race, I am the best. I ride 5 miles and skid the rest. So come along and see me riding in the TT races. Easier than hopscotch, beating all the top-notch aces. I've been riding all my life. I started quite small. I've ridden furry cycles, iron scooters and all. Hear the people cheer me when they see me steering backwards. Down the hill I go at breakneck speed. See me coming down the street with the winning post on the pillion seat. So come along and see me riding in the TT race. Come along and see me riding in the TT races. Easier than hopscotch, beating all the top-notch aces. Once my bike was hard to ride, but I didn't mind, until I found it hitched to charabancs on behind. Everybody's scaring, I am such a daring rider. My inside rattles when I go the pace. My ribs begin to shake about, there's all my spare parts sticking out. So come along and see me riding in the TT race. With me gears in
And there he went. I think that's when the boat docked. A little snippet from the TT Racers. Yes, George Formby. Who else? Sorry for that if you're not a George fan, but you know what? I have sneaky admiration for George. I rather quite liked it, and you can't not play a bit of George Formby during TT Fortnight. Now, I promised you a bit of this man, Putney Dandridge, a wonderful player, but who's heard of him? Amazing, really, when you think of the name. You'd have thought it stuck, wouldn't you? Putney Dandridge. I love a little note here from the back of the CD from the wonderful, the one and only Dizzy Gillespie, who says it's a great idea to bring back this music from the Middle Ages. There's plenty of surprise in there for today's musicians. Well, let's find out. You're a Heavenly Thing.
Took the moonlight out of the sky, put moonlight right in your eyes. Like we do tonight, you are heavenly thing. Oh, mama, took the fragrance out of the deep, spread the roses all over you. Like a garden, you are heavenly thing. They made the clinging fine, your embrace stars that shine. Like your face to combine everything. Only for the breath of spring, and then the finish, call it a day. Took the model, threw it away. Like an angel, you are heavenly thing. Beat it out now. Combine everything, only for the breath of spring. Hold, baby, hold, baby, hold, baby, baby, hold tight, 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 tight. Yes, indeed.
He could play, couldn't he? He could sing as well, actually. Great fun, great sounding. The recording quality, really vibrant there. A bit of hiss, but really sounds actually clear. You can hear all the instruments. They're well balanced, well to the fore in the mix. It doesn't sound at all as old as it actually might be. Putney Dandridge, a rare collection, a double CD actually, this. Or breathe not a word of it abroad, but someone made a copy for the old maestro of this one, complete with all the notes here as well. Someone did a good job. Might have been Brian. Hello, Brian, if you're listening. A double CD with a complete chronology, including all of the alternate takes of the small band sides, made under the leadership of Putney Dandridge, a singer and pianist, and he regularly performed with some of the greatest of all the jazz names, Henry Red Allen, Roy Eldridge, Chu Berry, Teddy Wilson, all captured in these rare performances. And that one we heard there was You're a Heavenly Thing. Wonderful player too, he, and 1935 that was recorded, and sort of drawing a painting of him on the front in a white jacket. A fine character and a good player. We might play it. I'll keep that one in the back, shall I? Yeah, we'll play a little bit more of that maybe next week or the week after. Quite enjoyed that. Great voice and great fun as well. Jazzing the Classics, that's another one of our regular ones at the moment. We've been working our way through this little collection piece by piece, so it's a lot of the, well, classics all jazzed up, as they say. Chopin, Tchaikovsky, Rachmaninoff, Rimsky-Korsakov. We've got Flight of the Bumblebee on this. We'll do that. Maybe we'll do that next week. This week, I think we'll have A bit of, we mentioned a Frank earlier on, I think, didn't we? In en passant, as they say. Full Moon and Empty Arms. Frank Sinatra.
Full moon and empty arms. The moon is there for us to share, but where are you? A night like this could weave a memory, and every kiss could start a dream for two. Full moon and empty arms. Tonight I'll use the magic moon to wish upon, and the next full moon, if my one wish comes true, my empty arms will be filled with full moon and empty arms. Tonight I'll use the magic moon to wish upon, and the next full moon, if my one wish comes true, my empty arms will be filled with you.
Oh, loving that harp, I must admit. Full Moon and Empty Arms. Kay Mossman, it's after Rachmaninoff, really. Piano Concerto number 2, if you were close enough to remember that. Frank Sinatra there, though, with that take of Full Moon and Empty Arms with Alex Storel and his orchestra, recorded in New York in November of 1945. We're almost out of time again. Tell you what, if I don't warble too much, we can squeeze something in. What do I want? Oh, I know. I want my mama.
My mama, he wants his mama. Although he passed for her papa, she's quite nifty, he's over 50, but he won't own up that he's grown up, so he says, Mama, I want my mama. He wants his mama, and he can count on his mama to lullaby him and pacify him and give him kisses when he cries, Mama, Mama.
Go on. Harry Roy and his band, and that was indeed Harry Roy's voice you heard there. I Want My Mama from Dancing at the Palais. Which Palais? Well, of course, the Hammersmith Palais, or the Hammersmith Palais de Danse, to give it its grand title. The original American jazz group, that's the original Dixieland Jazz Band, started out there. They did 9 months in November of 1919, and then the management replaced them, and they left with the original Lyric Five, featuring brothers Sid and Harry Roy, like the sort of Birchells of light music. And a few years later, of course, Harry became leader of the group and was soon established as a top-line attraction, headlining shows throughout the capital at the London Palladium and at the Palais, and enjoying prestigious engagements such as 3 years at the Mayfair Hotel in London's West End. Ah, those were the days. Be lucky to get a pianist you've never heard of there these days, I'd imagine. There we go, that's about it. Normality resumes next week. But fear not, we will carry on in the same time, in the same place. Until then, cheerio.